Hi everyone, welcome to Life of Emerald. We present Sacred Healing Summit. Today our topic is on the joy of happiness, how to cultivate it, the sequel. We speak up about the elephant in the room such as mental wellness. We have begun the hashtag movement, hashtag 30-day happiness. Stay tuned to find out more. Let me introduce you to our panelists. Our first panelist is Nina Chirac. Nina helps individuals and teams apply the science of positive psychology to better navigate the waves of life so they can thrive resiliently. She's a professional, certified corporate resilience mastery trainer, worksite wellness leader, licensed behavior change educator and coach, and certified applied positive psychology practitioner. Now our second guest panelist is Colin Thompson. Colin is a Canadian-born Jamaican, is a founder and CEO of Oligay Enterprises in Shanghai, a business consulting company focused on coaching, training, and blockchain technologies, specializing in personal development, diversity, and career coaching. Colin coaches individuals and groups on how to reach their dreams, goals, and desires. Our third guest panelist is Elliot Bang. Elliot is a certified high-performance coach. He helps guide people to self-discover new habits and new beliefs so that they can live the life they've always dreamed of or envisioned for themselves. He thinks high performance is about reaching heightened and sustained levels of performance over the long term. Now, our fourth guest panelist, is Simon Ladder. Simon began his career as a headhunter in 1997 and co-founded Salisi Human Capital in his hometown of Manchester in 2005. He moved to Las Vegas in 2013 to open Salisi's US office, and in late 2019, he co-founded Salisi Academy to coach and educate people on how to achieve life transformation through finding happiness in the right job and improve their chances of getting it. Simon is also host of the Conference Room podcast. Our next guest panelist is Wally Collins. Wally is an international headlining comedian, actor, YouTube producer, musician, and author. He was the first African American to have his own show on Comedy Central. His book, The You Never Know Book of Encouragement, is designed to inspire people to go for any of their dreams, goals, and desires. And our guest panelist, Paul Sterling, is joining us here now. Paul went from being a commercial fisherman in Alaska to a sought-after couples coach, an international public speaker on love and relationships, and is the best-selling author of Argue Less, Love More, which was #1 with both couples and counselors. And finally, myself, I am Kate Lee. I am a healer, storyteller, and entrepreneur from Seoul, Korea. I have international education background of 15 years and experience educating in business settings in Korea and the Bay Area. I am the founder of Life of Emerald and Sacred Healing Summit Initiative. My ancestors are kings of South Korea of the Joseon dynasty and the scholars of noble class in the Shilla dynasty. And welcome our panelists. Hello, everyone.
Hello, hello, hello. Kate, I have to say you look very angelic with the light behind you.
Thank you for that. I'm an angel, yes.
Yes, yes, I knew it, I knew it.
Just joking. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our sequel summit on happiness, the joy of happiness and how to cultivate it. And we are here for public to uplift and share what we know about our life's journey towards happiness. Would you like to introduce yourself briefly to our audience, please? Nina, would you like to start?
I'm happy to do so. Starting out with a lot of happiness. You spoke a lot about my background, the kind of work I do. And I, of course, like everyone, I have a life journey that's informed me about happiness, and that it certainly includes some, very traumatic moments of unhappiness and pain and sadness and disconnect, which have, certainly led me to want to learn how does one find their sense of flourishing in life and being able to build positivity and also manage negativity as a part of that. And so I think we're going to have a time to talk later, I'm assuming, because I do have a few points I would love to talk about. And so so I can stop right there unless you want us to get into a few other details. Let me know.
Thanks, Nina. Wally, could you introduce yourself to us?
Hello, everyone. My name is Wally Collins, and I am a stand-up comedian, professional stand-up comedian. So you want to talk about happy? I get paid to make people laugh. I get paid to make the room happy and joyful, and I love doing it. So it's not really a job. It's something that I go to a room and I make people laugh, and then they give me money. I love it, and that makes me happy. But I also have a life that I'm living, that I'm living my dreams, and I wanted to find a way to share my my life and my happiness with my book. You never know. Basically, it's saying you never know unless you try, and even that journey is going to be something you're going to talk about. But like Nina was saying, as we go on, we'll talk more about it. But yes, it's really great to be here and good to see everyone again, and that makes me happy.
Thanks, Wally. Colin, how about you?
Yeah, how about Colin? So, hello, everybody. You guys, we met last time. For those of you who are joining, you can go back, look at the first one to get my background, because I want to use my time to speak more on something that Emerald said. And Nina sort of mentioned this also, a lifelong journey for happiness. I hope by the time we finish today that you guys realize and understand you don't need a lifelong journey to find happiness. Hopefully, you can use your experiences at a younger age and really understand what happiness is. And hopefully today we'll give you guys some good insights on what happiness is and what happiness is not. And is there something in between that's okay? All right, talk soon.
Thank you for that. Simon, introduce yourself with us.
Hi, I'm Simon Lader. I'm the token Englishman. And probably because everybody, when I'm in a group of people who are predominantly American, they need somebody to be evil. And so that's me. I am the Jafar. I am the Shere Khan. So, hello all. And I'm not a professional performance coach. I'm not a psychologist. And I'm not a professional comedian. I am a headhunter. And my focus over the last certainly 2 or 3 years has been coaching people on a micro or macro level in addressing happiness or otherwise in their professional careers. Because from when you wake up on a Monday morning till you go to sleep on a Friday night, the majority of your time, the majority of your waking hours are spent in your job. So my focus, and hopefully what I can contribute to this discussion, is helping people find happiness in their jobs and how that transforms their lives in a positive way. That's me.
Thanks, Simon, for joining this time.
My pleasure.
Elliot, please.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy because everybody else here is happy, so I'm just happy that I'm here, surrounded by these other panelists who are happy as well. I just want people to be themselves and be okay with that. And if that's not where you are happiest or where you're finding your joy, then let's keep working towards where you want to go to find your happiness and your joy, right? But be comfortable and be okay with where you're at, and then finding those ways to get to that happiness part or that joyfulness part. So excited to be here.
Thanks, Elliot. Welcome back, Elliot. Nina, welcome back. Wally, welcome back. Welcome back, Colin. And Simon plugging in here today very nicely. I would love to, oh, hi, Paul.
I'm so sorry. Hi.
That's all right. It's perfect timing. Paul, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, I am Paul Sterling. I am a relationship and intimacy coach, and I wrote a best-selling book, Argue Less, Love More. And I work with clients all around the world. And part of it is, how do you bring happiness to relationship? And how do you, like, PR, PI, PR? People write that down. Recognize the patterns that are creating problems in their life and sabotaging it, interrupt the patterns and replace the patterns. And I think that's what creates happiness, to recognize the patterns that are getting in the way and interrupt them and replace them. So that's why I'm excited to be on this call.
Awesome. Awesome. Welcome back. I'm going to allow me to guide us all in 1 minute meditation. So if you could please close our eyes and let's take a breath in and out. Breath in and out. Once more, breath in and out. Please put your attention in your heart center. And feel the love and spacelessness and the field that we are all connected in one. And gently have your spine straight. And be aware of breath in and out, coming in and out, as we are a vessel to wisdom. And let's center in the eye of the storm, in love. When you're ready, please open our eyes. All right. Welcome everyone. We have last time talked about the meaning of happiness and can it be cultivated? And we gave audience one takeaway, which is, what is one practical thing we can all implement in our lives today? Well, today we're going to take a deeper approach and dialogue about the gradients of happiness. What is there happiness? Is there unhappiness? Is there anything in between? And we welcome our panelists to share from their life experiences. And let's see where we go from this. Our key intention today is to dive in and embrace reality on the path to happiness. And so could Simon start with, what do you think is the gradients between the happiness and unhappiness?
The gradients between happiness and unhappiness. Well, I think there's also just basic apathy, really, or what people may refer to as meh. You know, you're neither feeling happy nor you're feeling unhappy, and I think there's a challenge even in that very often when you feel unhappy about something, at least it gives you motivation to change it. Okay, when you're feeling apathetic, very often that doesn't give any particular motivation. So for a long time, people may find themselves in a kind of quagmire of in a situation where they are not feeling happy, but not feeling unhappy enough to do anything about it. So very often, the stronger the negativity, the more motivation there is to change it. So I would suggest that it could be that this kind of gray area between happiness and unhappiness could possibly be the most dangerous of the three states that one can find themselves in. Because at least when someone's unhappy, they are often motivated to do something about it.
That's a great point. Yeah. Wally, what do you think?
Thank you. There are going to be loads of them.
I just wanted to say that Simon was completely right, and that's all I have to say. No, I really think that happiness gets a bum rap. I think people put a lot of pressure on the word happy. It's why am I not happy? Why am I not happy? And happy is like, well, I can't do it all. We're not happy 24/7. We're not happy all the time. You recognize happy, and what you're going to do is try to stay in that happy and enjoy it, and understand that you are going to have some challenges, and it's going to take you out of your happy. But once you know and understand what you're dealing with, that you can appreciate getting back to the happy, having those happy thoughts, thinking about simple things, hanging out with your family, that your favorite dessert, putting on your favorite outfit, that will put you in a happy mood or a happy mode, so to speak. So that's my thing, is that to put all that pressure on happy, it's not a real thing. It's almost basically a myth. It's just a place that you strive for and try to hang out, and like an island, I should say, like an island, and hang out there from time to time. So that's the way I can express it.
Mm-hmm.
Something here, Kate.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I respectfully disagree with what our panel said so far, Mr. Latter. In that, I do think that middle ground, and it's individualistic, right? I think the middle ground is what I call safe, right? And some people feel that if they're not happy, then they must be sad. There's a time that doing things that brought us moments of happiness now don't do it. And I think that when people get more comfortable and are okay, for example, you may be okay sitting on your couch watching TV. You might be okay going for a walk in the park. I think though, and Wally may have been hinting to this, happiness, what is deemed as happiness, which may be a mirage, has changed. Because now happiness is when you look on social media and you see people doing things or doing activities and you say, wow, they are living the life and I'm just on my couch. So you go from being happy with being in that middle area to now wanting more, feeling that's going to make you happy. But then let's say, for example, somebody's on vacation. You say, if I can only get to vacation, I'm going to be happy as heck. You get on vacation, it's fun, but it's not giving you the feeling that you think you should have. Because again, you go back in social media and somebody's doing something else. And you're always saying, wow, they look so happy. I want that. So it's sort of like, I think people get unsatisfied and we're forgetting that happiness is, it's okay to be okay, right? You don't have to be gushing, smiling. So I think there is a gray area that is very, very comfortable. I wouldn't call it happy and I wouldn't call it unhappy. I would just call it, I'm cool, I'm okay. It's all good.
Cool, Colin. Thank you for that. Nina, what do you think?
When and I'm leaning at, well, I mean, if we're gonna, I don't know that we have to have sides here, but I think that Colin brought up a really important point about, and one of the things I was thinking when I was listening to Simon talk about this middle place, which is interesting. I didn't know if Kate, you expected us to go there, but that middle place is that place of non-attachment. It's actually an incredibly a wonderful goal. It's that place of content and satisfaction, of not needing, to have a measure. And one of the things that's really problematic with our whole concept of happiness is that it requires judgment, it requires measurement. And that being said, people end up getting on what Colin was alluding to, which is called the hedonic treadmill. What's made you happy one time no longer does. So it's like now you have to find something new. But if you go to that center place of just contentment, that's always like there's in Sweden, there's a concept called langum. It means enough. And actually in Costa Rica, there's a concept called pura vida. And they both really speak to that just enough, that place of satisfaction. And it's a, really a beautiful thing. But I do know that there's a quote that I came across just yesterday, and I thought it was great because it spoke so much to where we're going. And think about this quote. The quote is, avoiding unhappiness is not the road to happiness. So in other words, unhappiness, avoiding it and doing everything you can to get away from it, and then pursuing this other thing that you really want, it's not gonna, neither is gonna make you happy. So somehow in the center of like where you are, and we've talked about this a lot before, I think all of the speakers last time touched upon how important gratitude and appreciation is in feeling that sense of like, I would call my life happy. And maybe it's not, jump up and down, gleeful happy, but I think a lot of times when we talk about happy, we're talking about that center gradient of, I feel satisfied, I feel fulfilled, I'm complete as I am. I'm not, joyous bouncing, but I'm okay where I am, and I can take the bumps of unhappiness and the highs of joyful happiness, and I'm just in a content place of, and that really speaks to one of my key things that I love to talk about, which is flourishing, which is our ability to ride the waves of life.
Thanks for that, Nina. Paul, what do you think?
Well, I love that everybody's bringing up different aspects of it and that there's not a single route and a single definition. When I studied with Tony Robbins, he talked about this formula for happiness, and he got it from somewhere else. If LC equals BP, then you're happy. If LC doesn't equal BP, then you're not happy. LC is your life conditions equal your blueprint, then you're happy. So someone whose life conditions, they could be a millionaire, they could have the wife or husband of their dreams, they could have, they could be a movie star, and they could be miserable because they're comparing it against some blueprint, or we've heard social media. What creates a lot of happiness or unhappiness is what we or who we compare ourselves with. And if we ask ourselves really, and I'd be blunt, if we ask ourselves shitty questions, we end up feeling shitty about life. If we ask ourselves really good questions, we can end up feeling good about ourselves and good about life. And this goes back to gratitude questions like, what am I happy about today? And send that mind, that reticular activating, is that part of the mind that's searching. It's like the internal Google, what am I happy about to now? And if you keep asking yourself questions, you'll start to find answers. And if you ask yourself crappy questions like, what's bad about today? You could be in the most wonderful situation. You could be on the vacation that Colin talked about or whatever, and you could be miserable. I was in Hawaii once. There was this couple fighting in the hot tub, looking over Kauai, looking out over the Pacific Ocean. Like, they couldn't have been a more magnificent place, and they couldn't have been more miserable. So they were asking themselves crappy questions. So if somebody wants to take away something from all of us, it's like, learn what questions somebody ask themselves to be happy, even in miserable circumstances. Don't let the outside world run it. There you go. There's my check-in.
Thanks, Paul. Elliot, what do you think?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. This conversation, right? Because it's not a one size fits all where it's like, oh, this is one way to do it or one way to be happy. No, there's plenty of ways to do it. And, just kind of, I could see what Simon was talking about earlier. When you get in that middle ground of you're too comfortable, now you're not taking action. You're not getting to the place of happiness. And what Nina and Collins also said is it's okay to be in that middle ground, because it's so hard for us to make a switch of saying going straight from unhappiness to happiness. Right? There's got to be that transition piece of going from unhappiness to happiness. And it's going to be that middle ground where you find that. And what Paul said was, where is that focus, right? Where are you putting that focus? Am I focusing on somebody else's life? Am I comparing my life to somebody else's life? Or I'm putting that focus on myself and being okay with where I'm at and saying, oh, I may not be in Hawaii looking at the beach, but I'm here, I'm healthy, I'm happy, right? And just having those small celebrations of, hey, I have my health, I have my family, I have people around me. That makes me happy. I don't necessarily need to be on the beach in Hawaii where it's 70 and sunny all the time. What? Yes, I would love to be there, but I'm here in the cold. It's like 10 degrees outside, but I'm happy because I'm healthy. I'm with my family, and that's all. That's what I'm grateful for in this moment.
Thanks, Elliot, and thanks everybody for chiming in about the gradients between happy and unhappy. And as we know, life is a complex, I would say, machine. I would say complex thing, and we're here to navigate and route to happiness because that we're naturally drawn to happiness. But the question that I like to ask our panelists to freely chime in about this, two questions I'm going to combine. Why is happiness so hard to maintain? What's the number one roadblocks to happiness in your opinion, in your life experience? And what are realistic goals when it comes to happiness? Yeah, I'd like to open this floor to anyone who would like to chime in.
Ooh, I think maybe you need to break those up a little.
Sure.
Well, I think we can start with the maintain one. To maintain happiness. Like I was saying before, I just think that you're just putting a lot of pressure on being happy. I think, people are like, I want to be happy and I want to be happy forever. If you met that person, by all means, please put them on the panel. There's that really doesn't exist. And like everyone was saying, it's that there are ways to, get to your happy. And, we all have different opinions and different ways of going about it. And that's, your path, whoever's listening, you have to, what makes you happy? Like, going to a beach is not your happiness, but skiing could be the thing that make you happy. So, I think it's one of those things where you have that state of mind and you kind of understand that, it's like an umbrella of understanding, appreciation and gratitude. Let that be your umbrella. And then, go about your day. Yeah.
Well said, Wally. Well said. I think if you look at it, like, first place, what is the reason for emotions? If you look at it neurologically, part of what emotions do is tell us whether needs are being met or not being met. So if you only had one emotion, you would have a very limited resources as far as feedback,
Mm-hmm.
So, and part of it is, it's like saying, I want to be on the top of Mount Everest all the time.
Right.
I want to be happy all the time. Well, there's the climb up, the climb down, there's doing dishes. So it is, it's a condition, a state of mind, and there's some work that happens in between that it's like, and the more that I think I should be there all the time, the more miserable I am when I'm not exactly there. So it's, I think it's, one of the colors in the palette. And I want to try to enjoy all of it. Like when one of my trainers, Marshall Rosenberg, said, sweet sadness, rather than suffering, to be with when I'm sad and feeling the heartbreak of not having a need met, to be with that and not think I should be happy, because the happiness as an addiction, or actually, as one speaker, I think Nina might have said it, but the avoidance of pain creates more unhappiness than almost anything. That's where we go for addiction: alcohol, porn, drugs, because we can't be with those other feelings. The only feeling we can be with is happiness. And so what creates a more well-rounded person is the ability to be with the full rainbow of emotions, and I look at the emotions that I want to avoid. They're really tough to be with. And I've even had a few of those today. So I'm practicing that right now. So it's perfect for the happiness thing to come up and go, okay, time to practice being happy now. Who can't?
Yeah, I love that. I love that you said that, Paul, because so someone had commented, they knew I was speaking on this, and they were like, well, we don't want happiness all the time. We want unhappiness. And it was just so, it's so true that even though we say we want to be happy, ultimately we really want to be able to tolerate not being happy, right? That's almost like the key to it all. How do we tolerate the rest of it? And knowing that we can be, agile and adaptable and access happiness when we want to, right? And so I mean, that's part of it all. And when people, and all of us that probably have experienced this in our lives, have those moments of prolonged unhappiness, we want to know how can we change it? How can we get out of it? How can we tolerate it? Right. And I think, and I'm curious, Kate, on what your thoughts are on all this.
Yeah. Life threw me lots of lemons, and I had to proactively turn it into lemonade, including my, soul escaping my body in 2009, and me calling it, no, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. And then aftermath, checking into a mental hospital for 3 months, and day in, day out for 11 years on this healer's journey, of really learning what happiness is. And like everyone here sharing about the route to happiness is embracing all types of emotion, including grief, really. And the sweet emotion, really because of the grief, I'm able to appreciate a cup of tea this morning. Simon, what do you think?
I think very good points have been made so far, and I think that a couple of things. First of all, I think a big impediment to happiness, just jumping off of what we were talking about in the previous question. I think a big impediment to happiness often is the comparison of other people or the comparison of other situations. Paul made a great point when he said that when he talked about people in Hawaii having a blazing argument, and also just this idea of people comparing their lives to other people's lives on social media. And I spent the winter break, the holidays, renovating this room from a dingy office to this beautiful palatial room you see me in right now. In particular, it's just out of shot, and I won't make anyone jealous, but one of my passions is single malt Scotch whiskey, and an entire wall over there. In fact, yes, I will make you all jealous. There's a whole wall of single malt Scotch whiskey. So,
wow.
I could have like posted it on social media. I'm not particularly active on social media. I could have posted on social media and seen someone else with a whiskey room 3 times the size, and I would have been really bummed out, maybe. And I think that that it's important for people to live their life in context, and for that context to be centered around who they are and their circumstances. In fact, there's in the Jewish ethics of the fathers, in the Talmud, there's a rabbi called Ben Zoma who has a number of teachings, and one in teaching in particular, he says, "Who is happy?" And his answer is the person who is happy with their lot, who celebrates what they have. And I think so much we talked. I know in the previous in the previous summit, there was a lot of discussion about gratitude. I think that a lot of where it's obviously appropriate to have gratitude for others, I think one should also have gratitude to oneself as well in the situation one's currently in. I know a number of very, very poor millionaires. I know some incredibly wealthy people that have barely got 2 nickels to rub together. And so much of happiness is about appreciating your current situation and comparing yourself to yourself, and not comparing it to someone else's Facebook feed.
Yeah, I just want to add to what Simon said there, right? Just having that sense of self, right? Having that sense of who you are and being okay, because there's going to be peaks and valleys and ups and downs, because that's who we are as humans. So the whole panel has said we all can't be on that path. I mean, on that high of being happy. That's just not who we are as humans, right? And so just going back to having that sense of self and sense of who you are and being okay with that, because you're going to have ups and downs and rough patches, but then you climbing back out of that, right? So I just wanted to add that in real quick.
Yeah, I am going to read some of the gradients of happiness. The smiling, we feel soft happiness, upbeat, peaceful, calm, amused, open, friendly, encouraged, hopeful, inspired, jovial. And the mood state of happiness, happy, glad, content, optimistic, cheerful, joyful, satisfied, lively, delighted, pleased, gratified, excited, gleeful, merry, and playful. And the intense form of happiness is elated, exhilarated, manic, giddy, euphoric, all-filled, blissful, enthralled, rapturous, jubilant, ecstatic, overjoyed, and radiant. And now we have tons of gradients to happiness. And everyone has mentioned, except for Colin here, is about, how do we bring back to being grateful for what we already have? And almost like flipping the switch, looking for external happiness to bring it home internally. I'm going to decide to be grateful. And what do I already have? And start from there. And from that space, we can embrace all types of emotion, including, anger and fear, all of that, as mentioned, Nina mentioned on the first summit. There is no good or bad feeling, in here. And so I'd like to start with Colin on this question. How do you suggest people deal with phases of unhappiness and how best to ride them through?
Well, I think that going back to your comment about being grateful, having gratitude, I think some people are just raised to have gratitude. I'm not going to say they're raised the right way or the wrong way, but it's just more natural to them. Were always that person who had a good attitude, who thought positive, and were always sort of helping people. Some people have to go through things before they can experience gratitude. I think the best way for people to deal with phases of unhappiness should be the same way they deal with phases of happiness. And my answer is based on my personal experience, and it's just ride it through. If you know that you're in a great mood, top of the world, look, things will come down. So I've learned that regardless of what mood I'm in, to be in that mood. I think the challenge comes, or the tough time comes, when we try to push against the flow. For example, if I'm in a great mood, I'm trying to maintain it, but my life's not there. I think somebody said this earlier, it's not gonna work. If I'm in a bad mood and I push too hard to get in a good mood, it might not work. But if you know that, look, you may have 5 or 6 days of just terrible mood and wake up the next day and feel great. It just happens. So sometimes we don't need to know why. We don't need to know when. Just understand it's temporary. So again, my experience is based on the ups and downs and knowing that just like anything else, what goes up must come down. What goes down, it's not gravity, right? But will go up again. So I think if people just try not to push too quickly to change the mindset and whatnot, and just understand it's going to work out. It's going to be okay.
Do you mean to say that, imagery wise, just might as well embrace the roller coaster of life?
I would say be mindful of the mood you're in, and don't worry about trying to change things overnight. Right? The imagery, I don't know about the imagery. Yeah, I'm not sure about the imagery, but just try to not look. I don't know. Don't try to buck the systems too. I don't know how to explain it the right way, but it's really just being mindful of the mindset you're in and knowing that it's gonna change.
Yeah, panelists, what do you think? What is the best way to ride all types of emotion during COVID, especially?
Oh, wait a second. I'm sorry. I got to say this. I'm sorry. We cannot say during COVID, especially, because what people are going through, this is just life. Okay, COVID may make it a little bigger, but we cannot continue to say because of COVID. Okay,
Right.
These are just life things. Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
Thanks for that. And COVID and in life in general, you're right. Yes. Paul.
Well, I have a dog, and dogs have something called dog years. So 1 people year is 7 dog years. So one COVID month is like a normal year for most people, especially in the world of relationships, because they're spending more time together than they would normally spend in a whole year or maybe 2 years. So it does, Colin, I get what you're saying about life conditions, and there are some special conditions here. Everything gets amplified. And if you look at it, though, if you look at kids, kids have a great way of going through emotions. You know, one kid hits the other and they, like the kid screams and cries, Joey, you hit me, gets down. It's like the end of the world. He fully feels his feelings. And 10 minutes later, he's playing with Joey again. And you're like, wait a second, Joey was your arch enemy. You hated him. Yeah, but we're okay now because I fully felt it. Now, see, adults, we resist our feelings and it ends up being cancer and all these different diseases, dis-ease, not at ease, because we don't fully feel our feelings. We're avoiding them. There's like these list of colors, and some are good colors and some are bad colors. Like even we're having a happiness summit, so happiness is good, sadness is bad. And if we try to avoid sadness, then it makes it even worse. But if we lean into the feelings, whatever feeling we're having, and try to, with the intent of going through it rather than being stuck in it, you know. And then the other simple thing, we got Wally on the call. It's like, you know what? Part of what I do when I get sad is I go turn on a comedian, get somebody like Wally to wake up my day, because there's a funny way of looking at life that if I just look at it a little bit different, there was one comedian that said, looking for the funny, like they're looking in life for the funny. So find some funny, find a good movie, find a way that you can start laughing at your situation and laughing at life. And one last thing, I forget who said it, maybe it was Simon, but anyway, about the difference between poor and rich is like, poor is somebody who doesn't have anything to give away or to share, and rich is, you can have very little money, but be grateful and give stuff away and be happy. I taught in prison for 8.5 years, teaching inmates, and people went, wow, you're so generous. I said, no, you know what? It's like, if I was in prison, I would want somebody like me to come in and do that. And it also told me, what kind of a person am I? I'm the kind of person who wants to make a difference. And it made me feel good that I had something that I could give. And that was after going through a really sad divorce. And it was a way for me to reconnect that I had some value in the world to add. And if you want to feel better about yourself, go give something. Go be a volunteer. There's plenty of places that need your help right now. Go make a difference. That will lead you towards happiness, because the other type of happiness is you're thinking of buying something. If I just buy enough Gucci bags, I'll be happy. It's like, no, man, that is short term. That's like crack cocaine or something. It's not going to last. But you go make a difference in somebody's life, that stuff lasts.
You know, I have to say, Paul, you touched on kids and animals. You know, I have an acting coach, and he made a really great point. He said, if you ever talk to a child and say, act like an adult, the first thing they do is like you do it, you know, we go through, somehow we get trained to be angry and upset. But then he says, all right, I want the adults to act like children. And it's totally opposite. They're like, wow, all over the place. So somewhere in between there, we're taught, you know, to be unhappy, so to speak. And I think that's the trick, to kind of look, even at animals, to look at my dog, same thing. You know, something may upset him, but I swear, less than 2 seconds, you know, he's playing with his toy, because it happened, you know, I acknowledged it, it happened. And just like Paul was saying, is that, you know, kids do the same thing. It's like, it happened. Oh man, ice cream.
Yeah, that's an important point here mentioned, Wally, that somehow along the way from childhood to adulthood, we learn to be, you know, adult, learn to be something else. And according to, you know, some spiritual tradition,
Right.
the way to enlightenment, the way to path back to God is be childlike. When we look at senior citizens, they're very gentle, and also they embrace childlike qualities. Elliot, what do you think? What do you think has been the, let's sort of roadblock to happiness, and what do you think was the key thing that conditioned you en route to becoming an adult to be unhappy?
Roadblock is just going back to what some of the other panelists have mentioned about, is that focus, right? Focusing on someone else, comparing myself, my life to someone else's. Oh, why can't I have what Wally has? Why can't I be like Colin? Why Nina says this and says that? Why can't I be like that? So then now that focus is away from me, and now it's on everybody else, and I'm comparing. Oh my gosh, I'm not happy. Oh my gosh, I'm doing this, and then you get into that funk of like not knowing who you are, not knowing your self-worth, right? Your sense of yourself, right? So I would say that that's a roadblock, as the other panelists had mentioned, right? And how I get out of it, or what I do, right? I just experienced this week, right? I had a meeting, put it on my schedule, wrote it the wrong time. The person that I was meeting with was there, I wasn't there, and here I went through this funk of, oh my gosh, I'm so bad, I can't even keep my own schedule. Why am I doing this to myself? I'm not worthy of this. And I just stop and be like, hold on. No, I am. It's okay. I'm human. I made a mistake. I can keep my schedule, right? I just wrote it at the wrong time. It wasn't a time management thing. I just wrote it down wrong in my schedule. So just going back and having that reflection to myself, and having that self-talk, and be like, hey, my mistake, I own it. I called that person up, said, hey, I own it. This is what happened. I wrote it down my schedule wrong. Are you still available to me? And then she said, yes. I was like, oh, perfect. Right. So just going back to that reflection piece, and having that self-talk of, I went through all of this. No, that's not true. Yes, this is true. Owning it, and then moving forward, and being okay with that. Right. So that was something that I just experienced this week. And I went through that whole reflection and self-talk piece myself just this past week. So
awesome. It sounds like somehow adults, we learn to punish ourselves, like punitive measurement. Well,
very much.
Yeah, right. I'd like to shift the gear to all of our audience to share.
Can I just jump in very quickly? Okay. So I have a podcast called The Conference Room, and I had a guest on. I interviewed him a couple of weeks ago. It's gonna drop in a couple of weeks, and he's a guy who he was a lawyer, and decided he didn't want to do law anymore. So he then transitioned into doing real estate investment. And just around the time where he jacked in his legal career and was starting something new, he was diagnosed with cancer. And the whole reason why I had him on my podcast was nothing to do with his job transition. It was all to do with the fact that his whole mantra, if you like, was he'd never had a bad day in 10 years, right? And when I was questioning him about this on the podcast, I was like, I just don't understand what you mean. You've been through all these challenges, and yet you've never had a bad day in 10 years. What's that even mean? And he basically said, and he was talking a lot about mindset and how you approach challenges. And his approach was that you always look at things of, however bad your situation is, you put it in the context of, I think he said to me something along the lines of, if you drive home from work thinking you had a bad day at the office, the very fact that you have a home and you have an office puts you in the top, 3% of the world, right? So kind of put it in context type of thing. And it really kind of resonated with me, this whole idea of like putting things in context. But at the same time, that can be misused. It's a little bit, I think we're all of the generation where our parents said, you have to finish what's on your plate because there are starving children in some other part of the world, right? And well, okay, so I'm going to like put my peas and my carrots into a bag and send them off there. I mean, how does that even work, right? And the idea of, okay, well, if you've fallen over and you've banged your knee as a 7-year-old, being told there are people less less well off than you in the world isn't going to really help you. So kind of contextualizing your own kind of emotional state of, well, there's always someone worse off than you, sometimes can be helpful, but sometimes really isn't. And let me give you one, if I may, one tiny, very kind of timely example, okay? Yesterday, one of my closest friends died from COVID. And today, my wife and I we attended a Zoom funeral. And it was probably the most heartbreaking event that I've ever experienced. A young woman, 3 kids, and just passed away from COVID. And there's no getting away from the fact that right now I'm in a happiness summit, and my heart's shattered in a million pieces. One of my closest friends lost his wife. One of me and my wife's best friend has passed away, and it's so hard to kind of put this in real context. But it's okay not to be okay. I spoke to my 10-year-old whose best friend lost his mother, and it's okay not to be okay. Sometimes, as Paul, Colin, and others have said, is that there is a rich tapestry of emotions that we experience, and sometimes the most appropriate emotion to experience is sadness. And how do you, and the coda of your question was, how do you ride through it? We have an amazing ability to heal. Our emotions heal us. And sometimes, like a wound on your hand, the reason why you have when you cut yourself, you have a scab, is because, and eventually that scab falls off, is because underneath the scab, your body is healing. The tissue is healing, the skin is reforming, and then eventually, when it's no longer needed, the scab falls off. I believe our emotional state works in much the same way, that we need to feel sadness at the appropriate time. And when it's no longer appropriate, if we have a healthy state of mind and are surrounded by healthy relationships, that evolves into feeling happy and content once again.
Thanks for sharing that vulnerable story, Simon. And I'm sorry that happened in your circle, close circle. And I wish her well and her family well. I believe that we move on, and death is another door into a new life, and I honor her life here. Thanks for sharing. So you know what? We can pivot this title, the joy of happiness, into joy of sadness, joy of grief, joy of fear, joy of anger, and all of it, and keep meeting every month. Just joking. Okay, for our last segment here, as we part ways today, how do our audience connect with you, everyone? Could you share a point of contact? Nina, would you like to start?
Well, you can connect with me. My website is Resilience Mastery. So I do have classes on actually have a free program coming up on flourishing, a flourishing skills group with a free introduction. That's all based on positive psychology. And certainly coaching. You could certainly connect to me on coaching. After our last summit, actually, I did have an attendee contact me for some resources related to positive psychology and managing different emotions for her child. So I do have a lot of resources. You can also reach me on Instagram. I'm now on Clubhouse, anywhere. You can just, send ESP energy. I'll probably pick it up.
Thanks, Nina. Colin, how about you?
Yeah, so great question. They can reach me on my website. That's the easiest way. They can contact me there, oligye.com. However, as you mentioned, to connect with me, when we do have a conversation, I would advise people to be open, be authentic. That way, when we have a discussion and to see whether or not we can help each other or work with each other, connecting is very important. So I would say try to be very authentic. That's how you connect. But to reach me www.oligye.com.
Thanks, Colin. Wally.
What?
Wally.
Oh, okay.
Wally's not paying attention again.
Now, I'm just wondering what's going on in Colin's house. Seems like they're adding an addition.
There's always a comedy in everything, right, Wally?
Hey, I gotta find the happy everywhere. It's what I do. So yeah, you can find me wallycollins.com. You know, the Holy Trinity, IG, Facebook, Twitter. It's Wally Collins. Oh, I have a channel, YouTube channel called Wait What with Wally. There you go. Wait What with Wally. It's a lot of fun. It's a show of, it's a compilation of videos and photos that kind of gives you a different take on how the world is today. What else? And my book, You Never Know. Oh, I should show you. There it is. You Never Know. You can get that book of encouragements. You can get that on Amazon. What else? I think that's it. I'm just happy to see everyone. Everyone looks happy and healthy. And I hope we can do this again.
Yep, I agree, Wally. Thanks. Elliot, how do we contact you?
I think Wally is just super funny, so I just love going after Wally. So people can contact me at my website, elliotbang.com. That's Elliot with 2 L's and 2 T's. Okay, bang.com. And there's resources there, and I would love just to connect. And it's been awesome to collaborate with all of the other panelists on the panel tonight. So thank you.
Thanks, Elliot. And Simon, how do we connect with you?
Easiest way, my website, Simon Lader, Lader, simonlader.com, or you can listen to the Conference Room podcast, which is available on Spotify. Just look for The Conference Room. That's it.
Cool. And Paul, how do we connect?
God, I'm glad I didn't follow Wally, because now I'm trying to be funny. That's his job. So my website is arguelesslovemore.net. arguelesslovemore.net. They can reach me there. And basically, if they want to know information, if they want a remarkable relationship, you need remarkable relationship skills. And if you want to go to a relationship gym and build up your relationship muscles, that's a great place to start, to contact me there and create a breakthrough session. We get clear where you are, where you want to go, and what's in the way, and see if you're fit to work together.
Awesome. For our audience listening in, I hope you've received nuggets of wisdom here in our summit today. If you resonated with our panelists, please feel free to connect with them directly. For more inquiry about our impact-driven company, Life of Emerald, please visit us, lifeofemerald.com. For New Year's resolution, easily build healthy habits, we've built a system for you called 30-Day Happiness Program. This is for anyone seeking happiness and getting in touch with feeling joy and balance once again. All you need is 20 minutes of me time for a solution. Now, the hashtag movement, like the Ice Bucket Challenge, is for anyone who like to bring positivity into the world by doing one simple action. Here's how we do this. Let's share. Number 1, let's share via photo, video, or text one positive self-care thing that you did today. Second, then nominate as many people as you can to do the same. Third, then tag 30-Day Happiness on your social media. We're going to make this positive self-care movement go viral. For more information, visit us, 30dayhappiness.com,